What's up guys, Vress here, and today we're going to be taking a look at Camelot Unchained, the upcoming MMORPG from City State Entertainment. In this video I'm going to provide you with a brief overview of the game's main features and share some of my thoughts on whether it's an MMO worth getting excited about. As with all of my overview videos, I'll try to keep it brief and bullshit free. Also, it's very important to realise that this game is currently in alpha and none of the footage you'll see is final content. For that reason, I'm not even going to bother commenting on the graphics and animations, as they're quite clearly unfinished and only in place so that gameplay features can be demonstrated. Anyway, with that out of the way, let's dive right in. Let's start with a very quick bit of background. Camelot Unchained is a PvP focused MMO that is currently in development at a company called City State Entertainment. The project is being financed through seed funding, a significant investment from the game's lead designer Mark Jacobs, and a successful Kickstarter campaign. The game's been in development since 2013 and there's currently no confirmed release date. However, the team are putting out very regular progress streams and it's clearly still in very active development. The most important thing to understand is that the game revolves entirely around an ongoing war between three realms. As a player, you'll pick a realm when you first make your character, and from that point onwards, everything you do will in some way contribute towards your realm's war effort. It could be crafting equipment, gathering resources, building fortifications, fighting other players, or any number of other activities. Each day, you'll receive credit for your contributions towards the war effort, rather than being rewarded on a task-by-task basis. You'll never be able to fight against another player within your realm, and there will be no instance PvP. Focus will be entirely on the open world realm war. This can't be emphasized enough, as literally every decision the development team are making is made with this tri-realm dynamic in mind. If you're wondering how they're going to implement the enormous scale PvP battles that the game is promising, City State have developed their own purpose-built game engine, which has been specifically designed to cope with the demands of large-scale PvP battles. Having this realm war at the core of the game rather than as a side activity is what makes Camelot Unchained relatively unique in the genre, and it's definitely the feature that I'm most drawn to. The three realms are the Arthurians, who are said to be the embodiment of nobility, honesty and righteous strength. The Tuatha De Danann, who are worshippers of the forest and all things natural. And finally, the Vikings, who strive to conquer through blood and steel. Each realm has a number of unique races and classes, yet even classes are totally unique to each faction. There's no crossover. Some of the classes share similarities, but each will have its own unique playstyle. For example, you'll be unable to play as a Black Knight, Flame Warden or any other Arthurian class unless you choose that realm. This raises an important question around balancing, as there are already 30 unique classes represented on the website, with the promise that each class will have its own unique flavour. But one thing that seems very apparent about Camelot Unchained is that balancing on a realm basis is far more important than on an individual class basis. The game is designed in a way that encourages players to work together. This likely means that some classes will have a very tough time soloing, but will be absolutely pivotal in a group. I'm not going to list all of the races and classes, as there are just too many of them, but I'd suggest checking out the website if you're interested. Camelot Unchained takes place on a world that has been decimated by a force known as the Veilstorms, and each realm is going to have their own ideas about how it should be rebuilt. You can see that even the world itself has clearly been designed around the principle of a tri-realm conflict. Each realm will have a safe zone, which from what I understand will be unconquerable by the other factions. This essentially avoids one faction being wiped out entirely. However, the vast majority of the world is up for grabs. The world is made up of islands that will actually physically join with the conquering realm's mainland once they've been taken, and subsequently they'll drift away once they've been lost. Each area will be strategically important in one way or another. This may be due to reasons such as the island's resources, its defensive potential, or even just its location on a trade route. One thing that's for certain is that the islands will be hotly contested from the moment that the game goes live. Next up, let's take a look at how combat is going to work. Combat takes on a fairly unique flavour in Camelot Unchained. Rather than just targeting an enemy and casting various abilities, you'll actually be able to aim your abilities at different body parts. For example, if you notice that an enemy is not wearing a helmet, then it might make sense to take a swing for their head. This is a really bold move, and I personally believe that it could be a feature that either makes or breaks the game, depending on how it's implemented. But one thing's for sure, there won't be many players wearing Final Fantasy style hot pants and bunny ears. Not unless they're either very confident in their combat ability or just very stupid. It also looks like you're going to have a lot of flexibility when it comes to your abilities. And rather than just using the abilities that you're given, you'll actually be able to build your own abilities by combining various components that you've learned. For example, you may choose to combine the ability to conjure lightning with the ability to channel it towards an enemy, creating a lightning bolt style spell. This raises the class balancing question again, but I can't deny that the feature itself sounds like a lot of fun. So, what about PvE? Well, as you can probably tell by this point, PvE is not a core focus of the game. At least not in the traditional theme park MMO sense. However, there will be NPCs in the world, and they'll serve a purpose in terms of the realm war. You may be required to clear an area of NPCs in order to build a fortification, or you may need to gather materials from them that can then be used in crafting. There'll also be non-combat PvE features, such as a very in-depth crafting and building system that I'll go into in just a moment. To be honest, I'm not sure if this is a game that I would personally want to play if I wasn't into PvP. However, there do appear to be ways that you can contribute to your realm's success without ever setting foot on the battlefield. For example, you could do this through building a trading empire and using the coin generated to help finance the war effort, or by building the fortifications that help to defend your realm's territories once they've been conquered. Speaking of crafting, rather than it being a simple side task like in the majority of MMOs, it's actually a core focus of the game. Crafters are essentially the key to rebuilding the world following its destruction by the Veilstorms. The vast majority of items will only be attainable through crafting, therefore giving those who wish to focus on this aspect of the game a true incentive to do so. In fact, a realm without skilled crafters will almost certainly struggle in the war. Crafters will equip the realm's armies with weapons and armour, as well as building fortifications and siege equipment. The realm that doesn't have these resources will surely fall, and due to the fact that there won't be any other way of getting these resources, crafters will always be in demand. Therefore, if you've been looking for a game in which you can purely focus on crafting, then this might be the perfect fit for you. As I mentioned previously, the ability to build structures will be vital in Camelot Unchained. Of course, fortifications will need to be built to defend conquered territories, but it doesn't stop there. The economy will only run smoothly if other types of buildings are created. For example, players will not be able to trek between cities carrying 1,000 tons of iron ore on their backs. They'll need to store such resources in depots and transport them in wagons. Therefore, players will have to work together to build the necessary structures to support the economy. It looks like the building system itself is going to be pretty in-depth. As you can see from this footage, you may require a degree in architecture to build certain structures. I can imagine this being incredibly rewarding for players who enjoy this kind of feature. For my part, I'd probably be safer just using one of the blueprints that I've heard will be available. But either way, this is looking like a really impressive feature, and I'm looking forward to seeing how well it's implemented at launch, as it feels like another make or break feature of the game. Another thing you're probably wondering is what kind of payment model the game is going to implement. Well, Camelot Unchained is going to be a subscription-based game, unless that decision is reversed sometime in the future. And the developers have promised that there will be no pay-to-win features available. I still quite like the subscription model, as it provides the developers with the cash flow they need to continuously improve the game, providing they spend it in the right places. So I'm pretty comfortable with this decision, but I guess the market will decide whether it's going to be viable for them. Anyway, in summary, I'm starting to really warm towards the game, as I think it offers some really exciting and unique features. Specifically, the focus on realm versus realm and the way in which they're making crafting absolutely vital to the war effort. From the footage we've seen, there's definitely still a lot of aesthetic work that needs to be done, but I'm happy that they've clearly been focusing on getting the gameplay right before they attend to visuals. I'm looking forward to seeing what they come up with next, and I really hope the developers are able to deliver on the features that they're promising. So there you have it, my brief overview of Camelot Unchained. Let me know your thoughts on the game in the comments down below. Also, if you liked the video, please remember to subscribe to my channel for regular content, and I will see you next time.